Los Angeles, March 1977, the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, the 49th Academy Awards. The room is filled with Hollywood royalty, tuxedos, gowns, diamonds catching light from chandeliers, the smell of expensive perfume and anticipation. Everyone who matters is here. Everyone who wants to matter is watching. Robert Duvall sits in the audience, 46 years old, nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role as Frank Hackett in Network. It's his second Oscar nomination. Hal lost the first one 5 years ago for The Godfather. Tom Hagen. That quiet, devastating performance that defined restraint. He didn't win then. Joel Grey won for Cabaret. Tonight feels different. Network is the film everyone is talking about. Patty Chayefsky's savage satire of television, Faye Dunaway, William Holden, Peter Finch, and Robert as Frank Hackett, the ruthless network executive who will sacrifice anything for ratings, for power, for success. It's not a likable character. Not sympathetic. Just brutally, terrifyingly real. The critics have been unanimous. Robert's performance is extraordinary. Variety called it the most realistic portrayal of corporate sociopathy ever captured on film. The New York Times said, "Duvall makes you understand how intelligent evil operates." Rolling Stone wrote, "This is the performance of the year, possibly the decade." But what nobody knows yet is that tonight will teach Robert Duvall the most painful lesson of his career. The ceremony moves through its categories: technical awards, short films, documentary. The room buzzes with conversation during these moments, people checking watches, waiting for the big categories, the ones that matter, the ones that make careers. Robert sits quietly, his wife beside him. He's not comfortable at these events, never has been. Too much performance, too much pretense, everyone playing a role. The gracious loser, the humble winner, the supportive colleague. All of it choreographed, rehearsed, fake. But he's here because you're supposed to be here, because not showing up when you're nominated sends a message, suggests you think you're above it, or that you don't care. And Robert does care. Not about the trophy, about the recognition, the acknowledgement that the work mattered, that people saw what he was trying to do. Frank Hackett was a risk, a character with no redemptive qualities, no moment where the audience feels for him, just pure ambition, pure ruthlessness, pure capitalism in human form. Some actors won't play characters like that, afraid the audience will confuse the character with the actor, afraid they won't be liked. Robert didn't care about being liked, cared about being truthful. And the truth is, people like Frank Hackett exist. Run companies, make decisions that affect millions of lives, never lose sleep, never feel guilt, just pursue power with sociopathic efficiency. That's real. That's what Robert captured. That's what everyone saw. This is where everything changes for Robert Duvall. The supporting actor category approaches. Robert's category, his competition, is formidable. Ned Beatty, also from Network, Burgess Meredith for Rocky, Laurence Olivier for Marathon Man, Jason Robards for All the President's Men, all great performances, all worthy. But the buzz has been about Robert. The prediction is Robert. The expectation is Robert. 6 months of critics saying this is his year, this is his Oscar. This is inevitable. Liv Ullmann walks to the stage. She'll present supporting actor, opens the envelope, reads the name, pauses just for a second. That pause that means the name she read wasn't the name people expected. Jason Robards, All the President's Men. The room erupts in applause, genuine applause. Jason Robards is beloved. His performance as Ben Bradley was excellent, charismatic, likable, the kind of performance that makes you feel good, the kind of performance people want to reward. The camera finds Robert, trained to capture reaction, to catch disappointment, pain, anger, whatever raw emotion surfaces in that moment of loss. But Robert's face shows nothing. He's applauding, smiling, the perfect, gracious loser. Exactly what you're supposed to do, exactly what everyone does. But inside, something breaks. Not catastrophically, not dramatically, just quietly. The way ice cracks under pressure you can't see. The way hope dies when you realize the thing you wanted isn't coming. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. Wait, don't miss this detail. What's actually happening to Robert in this moment? He's not surprised by the applause. Not surprised people are happy for Jason. Jason is a great actor, a good man, deserves recognition. But Robert believed, actually believed, that this was his time, that the work would speak for itself, that being the best would be enough. And it wasn't. Isn't. Because Oscar voting isn't about who gave the best performance. It's about who people like. Who they want to see win. Who makes them feel good. Frank Hackett doesn't make anyone feel good. Ben Bradlee does. So Ben Bradlee wins. And Frank Hackett goes home empty-handed. The ceremony continues. Robert sits through the rest. Through Best Actress, Faye Dunaway wins for Network. Through Best Actor, Peter Finch wins posthumously for Network. Through Best Picture, Network loses to Rocky. 3 major wins for Network. But not Robert's category, not his moment. He was on the winning team. Just didn't get a medal. After the ceremony, there's the governor's ball, the official party. Robert attends. Because you're supposed to attend. Drinks champagne, congratulates winners, accepts condolences from people who tell him he was robbed. He was the best, should have won. All the things people say because they don't know what else to say. Robert thanks them, agrees the Academy made a mistake, says all the right things, plays the role, the gracious loser who'll win next time. Who'll have another chance? Who's just happy to be nominated? Then he goes home, takes off the tuxedo, sits in his living room, and finally lets himself feel it. The disappointment, the frustration, the anger that he won't let himself express publicly but can't suppress privately. You haven't seen Robert Duvall's biggest challenge yet. The next morning, the reviews come out. The papers analyze the ceremony. Most agree that Jason Robards deserved his win. Some mention that Robert was excellent too. A few suggest the Academy got it wrong. But the consensus is clear. Jason won. Robert lost. Time to move on. Robert reads the reviews over coffee, trying to understand, trying to figure out what he could have done differently. Different performance, different campaign, different character. What does it take to win? What's the formula? What's the secret? And then he realizes there is no formula, no secret, no guaranteed path. Because Oscar voting is subjective, political, emotional. Not a pure meritocracy where the best performance always wins. It's a popularity contest judged by people with their own biases, their own preferences, their own agendas. Frank Hackett was never going to win. Not because Robert didn't do great work, because Frank Hackett is everything people hate about themselves, about capitalism, about ambition. People don't want to reward that, don't want to celebrate it. Even when it's brilliantly portrayed. Maybe especially when it's brilliantly portrayed, because brilliant portrayals make you confront uncomfortable truths. So they voted for Ben Bradlee, for the hero, for the journalist who took down a president, for the character that makes you feel good about America, about justice, about truth prevailing. That's what people want to reward. That's what Oscars are for, feeling good, not confronting evil. Robert understands this, accepts it. But understanding doesn't make it hurt less. Doesn't make the loss easier, doesn't fill the space where the Oscar was supposed to be. His agent calls, offers condolences, says there will be other chances, other roles, other nominations. The career is strong. The work speaks for itself. Don't worry about the Academy. They're idiots. Everyone knows you should have won. Robert thanks her, hangs up, knows she's right about the career, but also knows something else, something she's not saying. That this might have been his best chance, his best performance. And if this wasn't enough, what will be? This is where Robert Duvall's real struggle begins. The months after the Oscars are difficult, not because work stops, work continues, offers keep coming, directors still want him, but something has shifted. A confidence has been damaged, a belief has been challenged, the belief that great work is enough, that truth prevails, that if you do your best, you'll be recognized. Robert has spent 22 years operating on that belief, since Sanford Meisner's classroom in 1955. Just do truthful work. Everything else will follow, and it has followed. Good roles, critical acclaim, financial security, a respected career. But not the ultimate recognition, not the Oscar. Not the validation that says you're the best, we see you, we choose you. He starts questioning his choices. Should he have played Frank Hackett differently? Made him more sympathetic? Given him a moment of humanity? A crack in the armor? Something to make audiences like him? Would that have won? But that would have been dishonest, would have been pandering, would have betrayed the character, would have betrayed the truth, Paddy Chayefsky wrote, would have betrayed everything Robert believes about acting, about art, about integrity. So no, he couldn't have played it differently, wouldn't have played it differently, would do it the same way again, even knowing he wouldn't win. Even knowing it would cost him. Because the work is the work, the truth is the truth, and compromise, even strategic compromise, is still compromise. But God, it would have been nice to win. 1978, a year after Network. Robert is offered a role in Apocalypse Now, Colonel Kilgore. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. A small role, maybe 15 minutes of screen time, but iconic, memorable. The kind of role actors remember forever. Francis Ford Coppola offers it to him. They've worked together before. Godfather. Coppola trusts Robert, knows he'll deliver, offers him a good price, good terms, easy shoot. Well, as easy as anything in Apocalypse Now can be. Robert almost says no, almost walks away, because what's the point? He'll do great work. Everyone will say he's excellent, and then award season will come and some other actor playing some more likable character will win. And Robert will sit in the audience, applauding, smiling, pretending it doesn't hurt. But he says yes, because that's who he is, because saying no would mean letting the disappointment win, would mean changing who he is, how he chooses roles, what he values, and he won't do that, can't do that, even if it costs him another Oscar, even if it costs him recognition, even if it costs him everything except integrity. Apocalypse. Now films, Robert delivers. Colonel Kilgore becomes iconic, more famous than Frank Hackett, more quotable, more remembered, but also more cartoonish. More over the top, more performance than truth. It's good work. It's not great work. It's not network. And Robert knows it, but this is the most shocking part, what Robert realizes about himself. Awards season 1979. Apocalypse Now qualifies. Doesn't come out until August, so it's competing in 1980. Robert doesn't get nominated. The role is too small, too brief, too colorful instead of deep. He watches the nominations announcement, feels nothing. Relief, almost. Relief that he doesn't have to go through it again, doesn't have to hope, doesn't have to lose, and that terrifies him, because feeling nothing means something has died. The belief, the hope, the faith that doing great work will be rewarded. It's been beaten out of him by one loss, one night, one moment when his name wasn't called. He's become cynical, hardened, the exact thing he never wanted to become, the exact thing he saw happen to other actors, bitter veterans who stopped believing, stopped trying, stopped caring, just showing up, collecting paychecks, going through motions, their fire extinguished by disappointment. Robert recognizes this, recognizes the danger, knows he's at a crossroads, can either lean into the cynicism, protect himself by not caring, or can find a way back to the belief, back to the faith, back to the understanding that the work matters more than the recognition. But he doesn't know how. Doesn't know how to stop caring about winning while still caring about working. Doesn't know how to value recognition without needing it. Doesn't know how to accept that the Academy might never choose him, and be okay with that. Really okay. Not just pretending. Everyone learned the truth, but the real shock was Robert Duvall's reaction. 1982, 5 years after Network. Robert reads a script called Tender Mercies. It's beautiful, simple, quiet. The story of Max Sledge, a washed-up country singer trying to rebuild his life, trying to find redemption, trying to understand grace. It's not a flashy role, not showy, no big speeches, no dramatic moments. Just a man living, struggling, surviving. Exactly the kind of role Robert has always loved, the kind that requires truth instead of performance, that requires being instead of showing. But there's a problem. Nobody wants to make it. The budget is tiny, $4.5 million. The director, Bruce Beresford, is Australian. Unknown in Hollywood. The studio, Universal, barely believes in it. They're making it as a favor, as a tax write-off, not as a real film. Robert's agent advises against it, says it's too small, too risky, too likely to disappear, says Robert should hold out for something bigger, something that will get attention, something Oscar-worthy. Because isn't that what Robert wants? Another shot at the statue? Robert thinks about this, thinks about what he wants, what he really wants, and realizes something. He doesn't want another Oscar shot, doesn't want to chase recognition, doesn't want to play the game, just wants to do work that matters, work that's true, work that he's proud of. Everything else is noise. So he says yes to Tender Mercies, takes the tiny budget, the unknown director, the risky material. Not because he thinks it will win Oscars, because it's the right role, the true role, the role that speaks to something deep in him. The understanding that life is about rebuilding, about grace, about finding meaning in small moments instead of big victories. Filming is unlike anything Robert has experienced. Shot in rural Texas, small crew, minimal equipment, no star treatment, no ego, just people making something they believe in, something honest, something real. It reminds Robert why he became an actor, not for awards, for truth, for connection. For the moment when you disappear into character and something authentic emerges. There's a scene where Max Sledge sings in church. Robert has never sung professionally, had to learn country music from scratch, had to learn guitar, had to train his voice, all for one scene, one moment, one song that most people will barely remember. But Robert commits completely, spends months learning, practicing, getting it right, not because anyone will notice, because Max Sledge would get it right. Because truth requires that level of commitment, that level of sacrifice, even when nobody's watching, even when nobody cares, especially then. The film wraps. Robert feels something he hasn't felt in years, pride, not in winning, not in recognition, in work, in craft, in the knowledge that he did something true, something honest, something that mattered, whether anyone else sees it or not. Universal barely releases Tender Mercies, limited opening, minimal marketing. They don't believe in it. Don't think audiences will care. It's too quiet, too slow, too real, not commercial enough, not flashy enough, not Oscar-worthy. The film opens in March 1983, makes $8.4 million, modest, respectable, not a hit. Critics love it. Audiences who see it love it, but most people don't see it, don't hear about it, don't know it exists. Then, something unexpected happens. Award season begins. Critics groups start weighing in. National Board of Review names Robert Best Actor. Los Angeles film critics give him their award. New York film critics follow, one after another. The people who actually watch films, who study performance, who understand craft, they see what Robert did, see the truth, see the restraint, see the grace. Golden Globes, Robert is nominated, wins his first major award for acting after 28 years, not for the showy performance, for the quiet one, for Max Sledge, for Truth. Oscar nominations announced, January 1984, Robert Duvall. Best Actor, Tender Mercies, his third nomination, his first for lead actor. This time, finally, for the role he chose because it was true, not because it would win. Because it mattered. This is where everything changes for everyone watching. Robert sits in his house, holds the nomination letter, remembers Network, remembers Frank Hackett, remembers believing he would win, remembers the devastation when he didn't, remembers the cynicism, the bitterness, the loss of faith, and realizes something. If he had won for Network, he might never have made Tender Mercies. Might never have stopped chasing recognition, might never have found his way back to truth. The loss taught him something the win never could have, that the work matters more than the award. That truth matters more than recognition. That integrity is its own reward. He doesn't know if he'll win this time, doesn't need to win, would be honored to win, but doesn't need it, because he's already won. By doing work he's proud of. By choosing truth over strategy, by finding his way back to the belief that almost died in 1977, March 1984, the 56th Academy Awards. Robert sits in the audience again, 7 years after Network, his wife beside him. His competition is formidable. Tom Courtenay, Michael Caine, Tom Conti, Albert Finney, all excellent performances, all worthy. But Robert isn't calculating odds, isn't comparing performances, isn't hoping desperately to win. He's just present, grateful to be here. Grateful for the nomination, grateful for Tender Mercies, grateful for the journey that brought him here, even the painful parts, especially the painful parts. Shirley MacLaine presents Best Actor. She won Best Actress earlier in the night, opens the envelope, reads the name, smiles. Robert Duvall, Tender Mercies. The room explodes. Standing ovation, genuine, spontaneous. People aren't just congratulating a winner, they're celebrating a journey, a career, a body of work. 29 years since Neighborhood Playhouse. 29 years of showing up, of doing the work, of choosing truth. And finally, recognition. Robert walks to the stage, accepts the statue. It's heavier than he imagined, holds the speech he prepared, looks at it, decides to say something else, something true. 7 years ago, I sat in this room, nominated for Network, believed I would win, didn't. Went home disappointed, angry, felt like the Academy got it wrong, and I was right. They did get it wrong, the audience laughs nervously, unsure where this is going. But you know what? I'm glad they got it wrong, because if I had won in 1977, I might never have learned what I needed to learn, that this isn't why we act, this isn't why we do the work. We do the work because it matters, because truth matters, because stories matter. The awards are nice, I'm holding one, I'm grateful. But this isn't why I became an actor. He holds up the Oscar. Max Sledge taught me about grace, about rebuilding, about finding meaning in small moments, and I had to learn that lesson, had to lose in 1977 to find my way to Max Sledge in 1983, had to stop caring about winning to do the work that won. He thanks the people he needs to thank. Beresford, the cast, his wife, Meisner, then finishes. To everyone who's been nominated and didn't win, and to everyone who never gets nominated, your work still matters. The truth still matters. Keep showing up. Keep doing honest work. The recognition might come, might not, but the work is its own reward. I forgot that for a while. I remember it now. Thank you. He walks off stage. The applause is deafening. Not for the speech, for the truth, for the honesty, for saying what everyone feels but nobody admits, that awards are arbitrary, that losing hurts, that the work matters more than recognition, but also that recognition is nice. Both things can be true. As security approached, Robert Duvall turned around. Backstage, reporters asked Robert about Network, about the loss, about whether winning now makes up for losing then. Robert thinks carefully. Winning now doesn't erase losing then. The pain was real. The disappointment was real. The damage was real. But the loss taught me something winning never could have, taught me that I was acting for the wrong reasons, for recognition instead of truth, and that needed to change. He continues. Frank Hackett was a great performance. I'm proud of it. But I was doing it to win, to prove something. Max Sledge I did because it was true, because it mattered, because the character needed to be told. That's the difference. That's what loss taught me. A reporter asks, do you think Jason Robards deserved to win in 1977? Robert doesn't hesitate. Yes, he gave a great performance, different from mine, but great. The Academy doesn't always choose wrong. Sometimes they just choose differently. I thought my performance was better. They thought his was. We're both right. That's how subjective this is. Another reporter asks, what would you say to actors who've been overlooked by the Academy? Robert looks directly at the camera. Your work still matters. Peter O'Toole has been nominated 8 times, never won. Is he any less great? No, he's Peter fucking O'Toole. The statue doesn't validate the work validates itself. He holds up his Oscar. I'm grateful for this, truly. But Max Sledge would exist whether I won or not. The performance would still be real. The truth would still be true. This is acknowledgement. It's not validation. Learn the difference. It'll save you years of bitterness. 2015, 31 years after winning for Tender Mercies. Robert Duvall is 84 years old, being interviewed for a documentary about the Academy Awards, about what winning means, what losing means, what it all means. The interviewer asks, looking back, was losing for Network a blessing in disguise? Robert thinks for a long time. I don't believe in blessings in disguise. I believe in painful lessons that become wisdom if you let them. Losing for Network was devastating, period. It hurt. It damaged me. It made me question everything. It's not a blessing, he continues, but what I did with that pain, that became something valuable. I could have become bitter, could have stopped caring, could have let it poison me. Instead, I let it teach me. It taught me that I was acting for the wrong reasons, that I needed to reconnect with why I started, that the work matters more than the recognition. The interviewer asks, would you trade your Oscar for Tender Mercies for an Oscar for Network? Robert laughs. No, because the Oscar for Tender Mercies came after I learned the lesson. It came after I stopped needing it. That's why it matters, not because of the statue, because of who I was when I won it. Someone who was acting for truth instead of recognition, someone who had found his way back. He pauses. Frank Hackett deserved an Oscar, but Robert Duvall in 1977 didn't deserve one. Not because the performance wasn't good, because I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. And the Academy knew. The Academy always knows. They vote for the work, but also for the person, for the intention, for the truth behind the performance. In 1977, I was performing to win. In 1983, I was performing to tell truth. The Academy chose truth. They were right to choose truth, even though it took me 6 years to understand why. The interviewer asks one final question. What do you want people to understand about awards, about recognition? Robert looks directly at the camera. Awards don't make you an actor. Work makes you an actor. Showing up makes you an actor. Truth makes you an actor. I've been nominated 7 times, won once. Does that make my other 6 performances less valuable? No, they're all valuable. They all mattered. They all taught me something. The Oscar sits on my shelf. It's nice. I'm proud of it. But you know what I'm more proud of? The 50 years of work, the 100 roles, the thousands of days of showing up, of trying to tell truth, of serving characters, of disappearing into stories. That's the legacy, not the statue. So if you're an actor or an artist or anyone doing work that matters, here's what I learned. Do the work for the work, not for recognition, not for validation, not to prove something. Do it because it's true, because it matters, because you have to. Recognition might come, might not, doesn't matter. What matters is that you showed up, that you told truth, that you did the work. Everything else is just noise. He stands. The interview is over. As he walks away, he says one more thing. I lost for Network, won for Tender Mercies. But my best performance, it's probably something nobody remembers. Some small role in some forgotten film where I just disappeared into truth. That's the work I'm most proud of. Not because anyone saw it, because I did it right. What about you? Right now, in your work, in your art, in your life, are you doing it for recognition or for truth? Are you measuring success by awards or by the knowledge that you showed up, that you tried, that you told truth? Robert Duvall learned the hardest way, lost when he deserved to win, won when he stopped caring, and discovered that both experiences were necessary, that the loss taught him what the win never could have. That disappointment was the path to wisdom. That pain was the price of growth. Frank Hackett didn't win. Mac Sledge did. Not because Mac was better, because Robert was different, had learned, had grown, had stopped needing what he once desperately wanted, and in that not needing, became worthy. 7 years. That's how long it took. 7 years from loss to win. From pain to wisdom, from caring about recognition to caring about truth. 7 years of showing up, of doing the work, of rebuilding faith that almost died. 7 years that made all the difference. The Academy gave Jason Robards the Oscar in 1977. They were wrong, but they were also right. Because Robert Duvall in 1977 wasn't ready to win, needed to lose, needed to learn, needed to find his way back to truth. And 7 years later, when he was ready, when he had learned, when truth mattered more than recognition, then he won. Then he deserved it. Not because the performance was better, because the person was better. That's the lesson. That's the wisdom. That's what losing taught and winning confirmed. The work matters more than recognition. But recognition, when it comes from truth, matters too. Both things are true. Hold both and keep showing up. Keep telling truth. The rest is just noise.